A good afternoon to you. My name is Olive Burrows and this is NTV at One. Those caught out inside the disease-infected zone but wish to cross have until tomorrow evening to do so before the containment order takes full effect. If you're wondering who this is according to, it's according to the government spokesman Cyrus Oguna, who's been clarifying the new directives this morning. Our Rift Region reporter Lois Wangwe is on her way to Timborwa, the border crossing between Wasingishu and Nakuru County, to monitor the enforcement of the new controls. Lois, along the way, what are some of the sentiments that have been shared with you and what does the road look like?
A very good afternoon to you, Olive, and of course to you, dear viewer. We are along the Nakuru-Eldoret Highway, and if you can just give you a perspective or a feel of how the road is, it is that this highway is basically almost empty and with very little activity. And this is a highway that is usually very, very busy, especially over the weekends, with persons and even goods being on transit. But as you can see, we have around 4 or 5 vehicles right now. And as we're making our way from Eldoret town to this particular spot, as I noted, we are en route to the areas of Timboro and Kabara. We could hardly see any public transport vehicles and also personal vehicles being on transit. What we witnessed was the vehicles that transport goods in and out of Wasingishu County. But at around from about midday, when the government spokesman gave that particular directive, a bit of small activity has started indicating on the roads. And as you can see, like this vehicle passing me right now, it is a personal vehicle. Of course, perhaps guys just responding to that directive to open up the borders until tomorrow 8 p.m. But there was very little activity, especially when it comes to public transport. That also went to have an implication when it comes to costing, and I was able to make a number of calls when the government spokesman opened up the borders. For instance, transport from Eldoret to Nairobi is ranging somewhere between 3,000 Kenyan shillings to about 5,000 Kenyan shillings, a route that would fetch one between 800 Kenyan shillings to around 1,200 Kenyan shillings. We expect there will be a lot of vigorous activity to persons that perhaps wanted to make their way outside Wasingishu County to the neighboring Nakuru and Nairobi counties that had been declared disease-affected by the government, and we'll be looking out for that. Along this highway, that is the Eldoret-Nakuru highway, we expect to get to a point called Kamara and also Timboroa, the border areas, and we want to see how the government officers on those roads will be responding to that declaration by the government, allowing for persons to start moving within the country, but up to tomorrow 8 p.m. But as it is, there is very little activity along this highway. This highway, the Nairobi-Eldoret highway, also feeds us to the international highway from Eldoret to Malaba and to the neighboring countries, namely South Sudan, Uganda, and even Ethiopia. And we'll also be touching base with some of my colleagues to understand how operations will be on that route. But as I noted, on this particular route from Nakuru to Wasingishu counties and even to Eldoret, very minimal transit activity. And what we can report is that increasingly, like now we've just seen like 2 matatus making their way to Eldoret. Increasingly that number is starting to go up. It is important to note the county of Wasingishu is home to one of the largest universities in the country. There is more university, and we expect also there will be a lot of movement within that facility as the students start making their way to different parts of the country where they come from ahead of the deadline of 8 p.m. tomorrow. I'll be coming back to with much more later as we observe how people will be moving to and across inter-county boundaries ahead of the deadline that has been given by the government tomorrow at about 8 p.m. For now, back to you, Nairobi, Olive.
Thank you, Lois. And speaking of roads and hitting the road, the rush hour was busier than usual yesterday after President Uhuru Kenyatta announced the imposition of lockdown in the disease-infected zone. Just in case I need to catch you up on what that is, it's 5 counties. That is Nairobi County, Nakuru County, Kiambu County, Kajiado County, and Machakos County. Those 5 counties account for 70% of the COVID infections we are presently witnessing. Now, as hundreds hurried home or hurried their way home in and out of the zone before the new measures took place. That is the rush hour. Along the busy Thika superhighway, passengers were seen stranded as there were less vehicles plying their routes after the head of state suspended movement by road, rail or air in and out of Nairobi, again, Kajiado, Kiambu, Machakos and Nakuru. Some matatu owners took advantage to hike bus fares due to the urgency. Drivers also say the economic mainstay has been hampered by the mobility restrictions, saying they do not have alternative sources of income. Some Kenyans argue that the lockdown is not necessary.
Hii lockdown ni kama imefunga job yangu. Mimi ni dereva naenda baribari, sasa job yangu imefungwa. Sasa naona bado nitarudi kwa nyumba. Pesa ndio hiyo, hakuna kitu mfuko. Sasa narudi tu kukaa kwa nyumba. Ningeuliza president at least kwanza aisimamishe watu wafanye kazi.
Kazi yangu ni kupeleka mizigo huko Kirogoya. Saa zingine tunakujanga usiku kama saa 5 hivi. Sasa hii lockdown imetufanyia vibaya sana juu sasa saa zingine tunakuja kazi saa 5. Sasa sijui nitakuwa napitia wapi.
Imebidi turudi maishago juu maisha sasa imerudi sasa tena kwenye ilikuwa. Maisha imekuwa ngumu tena sasa, tumeona hivyo. At least president tu atuhurumie. Tuko na watoto tunalea. Tumekaa na watoto 1 year. Sasa tena amefunga, sijui tutafanya nini. Sisi tulikuwa tunaenda hadi na huku karibu Keno job. Hatuwezi sasa pita tena.
Another restriction that was imposed by President Uhuru Kenyatta last afternoon was the suspension of congregational worship in Nairobi, Kiambu, Machakos, Kajiado and Nakuru. The Interfaith Council on the National Response to the Coronavirus has issued new directives ahead of the worship day tomorrow, that is Sunday, and ahead of the Easter and Ramadan events that take place in a week, or rather Easter takes place in about a week's time. And what are these guidelines that have been issued by the Interfaith Council? Well, worship services have been moved online with a maximum of 15 allowed to be physically present for the purposes of facilitating the streaming of the services. These 15 are instructed to congregate for no longer than an hour. As for how the services should be conducted across the country, those over the age of 65 have been instructed to stay home. In the course of the service, the standard operating procedure, you know them, a social distance of 1.5 meters and hand washing stations apply. Notably, masks should be worn at all times, covering the nose and the mouth, even when speaking into a microphone. So no more pulling your mask down so that it covers your chin as you speak into a microphone, no longer pulling it out and putting it into your pocket. Wear your mask at all times, when in church, when in the mosque, wherever you worship, where there are other people present, make sure you keep your mask on. Tension remains high in Mukutani area of Baringo County, a day after a bandit attack left 1 person dead and 2 others, including a child, severely injured. The suspected bandits attacked a village on Thursday and shot dead a 60-year-old man and injured a mother and her 1-year-old baby. The 2 are currently recuperating at the Baringo County Referral Hospital. The victim, who survived the attack, says she just concluded preparing her evening meal when her 4 children alerted her about armed bandits who were approaching their homestead. The baby suffered a pelvic fracture and a bullet went through her lower abdomen through the stomach, leaving a big wound behind. More than 80 households from Mukutani ward in Baringo South Sub-County are holed in various security camps. The attack came days after security agencies and area leaders agreed on a 30-day ceasefire in the Kapedo security operation.
Hii uvamizi imefanyika tu siku mbili baada ya ile mkutano ilikuwa la Pawaria. Na tuliambiwa kwamba security team waliongea na wale machambazi, wale viongozi wa machambazi. Wakaambia kwamba wanataka uvamizi isifanyike kwa siku 30. Siku moja tu tumepata attack Mkutani.
Langu tu ni NPR warudishwe. warudishwe mapunduki. Ukiona watu wamekutani kama ungekuwa na NPR wao. Unajua NPR wako na advantage because wanajua terrains. NPR wanajua watu wao wako wapi. NPR wanajua ng'ombe yao iko wapi.
Operesheni haikusimamishwa but ilikuwa scaled down. Visa ina hivyo ikitendeka, sisi tutaendelea kufanya kazi yetu, viongozi wao wakiendelea kufanya vile waliomba.
I've learned something new today. I've been saying Mukutani. It is actually, according to how those speakers there said it, Mukutani. Residents at Tena Estate in Umoja have been left counting losses after several houses were razed down to ashes last evening. The fire that started at 6 in the evening left residents claiming the county government's fire response team took long to respond. It took close to 3 hours before it was put out. The cause of the fire is yet to be established.
Imewaka hapa for more than 2 hours na hakuna kitu inaendelea hapa. Hii gari moja imekuja iko na maji nusu. Hebu ishamaliza kuzima hiyo.
Maji nusu. Mabaya faida zinakuja na maji ya base na kuna hapa maji ya maana zinazima. Wana ina moto yote faida moja itasaidia.
We take a break. NTV at 1 will be back with more on the other side.
Standing tall at the heart of Tattoo City lies Lifestyle Heights, a prestigious property in a prime area offering you spacious 2 and 3 bedroom and 3 bedroom plus DSQ apartments. With state-of-the-art amenities, Lifestyle Heights offers you constant water supply, round-the-clock security, green and open spaces such as the pergolas and kids play area, lifts, among many other amenities. Contact us and come see us for an amazing open day on the 27th and 28th of March.
Health is wealth, and a healthy body works just like a machine. With many moving parts, it's all about what's inside. We like clockwork operations. Blending efficiency with quality has always been our drive. Every step of the way, our ambition is to achieve maximum health benefits out of our selection of maize and wheat flour. From our grain selection, sorting and processing, we produce the only toxin-safe flour, the first of its kind in Kenya, a nutritious flour that keeps your family rich. Because health is wealth. Exposure to aflatoxins is associated with an increased risk of cancer. Ajab is a certified toxin-safe flour.
Introducing Ushindi Cream Bar Soap. Ushindi Cream Bar Soap with Oxy Bright removes stains effortlessly and brightens colors. Available in 1 kilogram and 800 gram bars and 175 gram tablets. Also available in all your favorite variants. Ushindi, a quality product from Pwani Oils.
Today tastes like it's all fired up. Like it's cooling down. Tastes like open air and closed eyes. Today tastes like a Sunday barbecue, and it never tasted this good.
At the start of the bulletin, we told you the government spokesman Cyrus Oguna has clarified some of the measures to contain COVID-19 that were announced by President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday afternoon. What we discussed earlier was the extension of the period to leave the DIA, and that is Nairobi, Kajiado, Machakos, Kiambu, and yeah, I think that's it, 5 of them. And let's listen into what else the government spokesman had to say and the clarity he has provided on a number of of these issues. I know yesterday the KCA provided some clarification on domestic flights and all that. We'll get to that in a little bit. But before then, a report by a historical commission submitted to France's President Emmanuel Macron has concluded there had been a failure on the part of France over the Rwanda genocide in 1994. Rwanda, which has long accused France of complicity, says it welcomes the report into details of an incident that left nearly 1 million people dead. Rose Wangoi has those details.
A commission that spent nearly 2 years plumbing France's role in 1994's Rwanda genocide concluded Friday that the country reacted too slowly in appreciating the extent of the horror that left over 800,000 dead but cleared it of complicity in the slaughter. The report says that France bears heavy and overwhelming responsibilities in the drift that led to the killings, which principally claimed victims from Rwanda's Tutsi ethnic minority. The Commission's report also apportions blame to France for failing in its political, institutional, intellectual, ethical and moral responsibility, according to officials in Macron's office. But the report says researchers found no evidence that French weapons were delivered to Rwanda after the start of the genocide. Persistent claims that France, under the then President François Mitterrand, did not do enough to stop the genocide have damaged the Franco-Rwandan relationship since the 1990s. As a result, French President Emmanuel Macron ordered the 15-member commission in May 2019 to shed light on what happened in Rwanda between 1990 and 1994.
The tragedy of the Tutsi genocide is that there were ways of stopping it at the French and international level. These means were not used, and this is sad. I believe that we must now think about how to stop genocides, including by force. Because yes, genocide perpetrators are killers, murderers.
The report has, however, ruled out accusations of wrongdoing by a French-led military intervention in Rwanda that has been accused of being a failed attempt at propping up the Hutu-led government in Rwanda.
I hope that this report will lead to a Franco-Rwandan reconciliation, but without concessions. That is to say that Rwandans legitimately expect things from France. But basically, if President Paul Kagame accepts the report and consider that France has done what it should do, then Africa would be giving a lesson in greatness to Europe and to France.
The report found malfunctions in the process of appreciation of the situation and the resulting French government and military decisions, but the Commission made it clear that it did not seek to vilify individuals. Officials in Macron's office said the inquiry is not just about improving relations with Rwanda, but with the whole African continent, since other countries have also questions about what France did at the time. It's unclear to what extent the report would succeed in improving relations between the France and Rwanda, and in particular satisfy Rwanda President Paul Kagame. The Rwandan government says in a statement that it welcomes the report as an important step toward a common understanding of France's role in the genocide. It says an investigative report commissioned by the Rwandan government will be released in the coming weeks.
Ali, I told you about some clarification that was provided by the government spokesman yesterday when we spoke to the man on the street. Some of their issues with the restrictions were that they were not given advance notice. So to rectify that, the government spokesman says, we are aware that some of our people may have been locked in and out of the zoned area. For those affected, the government has allowed for a transition period until tomorrow, the 28th of March 2021, outside the curfew period. I'll need clarification on that. This applies to college students as well. On the other hand, individuals who are holders of curfew passes will continue to use the old passes until new ones are issued by Tuesday next week. As for domestic flights, all domestic flights in and out of the zoned area will be suspended from the 29th, that is Monday, from the 29th of March midday. And in terms of the questions on the zone, a lot of people had been asking, is it one zone? He says restriction of all movement by road, rail and air in and out of the counties of Nairobi, Machakos, Kajiado, Kiambu and Nakuru. He says we wish to clarify that these 5 counties have been grouped together into one zone. Movement is therefore restricted from other counties into the zone or from inside the zone to other counties. All right, let's listen in to the man himself.
In its wisdom, the government has given out a transition period whereby people who had moved out of the zone area for one reason or another or had moved into the zone area for any reason will be allowed to move out or to move back into the zone area. And therefore, transition period will last until tomorrow by curfew time. And therefore, if there is somebody who is in Eldoret and wishes to move to Nairobi, he should be here by tomorrow curfew time. For air and SGR, the window is being extended to Monday, midday. For those who have got SGR tickets, have got air tickets, they will be allowed to use them until tomorrow midday. Some of our people who come to largely Nairobi for specialized treatment. Now, such cases will be handled case by case. And for those who will be requiring to travel to Nairobi for specialized treatment, they are advised to produce a document of referral and also obtain clearance from the nearest police commander. Companies that have got employees that work in shifts, 2 shifts, there are those who work during the day, and there are those who come in the evening. There are companies of that kind. There are also construction, activities that also have got employees that are on double shifts. Now, for them, these new regulations do not apply to them. Those double shifts will continue as normal because the economy must continue to run. Now, international flights are not affected by these regulations. People will continue to come into the country. Our people and others will continue to fly out of the country. However, those who come into the country must be able to abide by the COVID-19 protocols, meaning that for any traveler coming into Kenya must be able to have a COVID-19 negative certificate that must have been obtained 96 hours before travel.
Finally got my clarification as far as what he meant by curfew. He said if you're outside the zone, you need to be back inside the zone by tomorrow curfew time, and that has been adjusted to 8 p.m. Up from 10 p.m., which applies in the 42 other counties in the country. But he said in government's wisdom, perhaps it would have been wise to anticipate that people would need time to move in and out of the zone before it came into force, the lockdown that is. 5 suspected members of a criminal gang operating in Mombasa have been gunned down by security officers. Police raided a house in Bombolulu area in the wee hours of Saturday morning and fatally shot the suspects believed to be the gang that has been terrorizing residents by stealing from M-Pesa shops and attacking businessmen. Our Coast reporter Kevin Mutai has more.
A special unit of heavily armed security officers believed to be from the Reke squad conducted a raid in Mbungoni area in Bombolulu, Mombasa County. The dawn ambush targeted a gang of 5 suspected criminals that has been operating in the region. The elite squad rounded their house in a surprise attack that left all the 5 suspects dead.
Walikuwa pia kwa mission tu ya kufanya uhalifu, sababu ile time tulikuta askari walikuja kutuficha hapa, they were moving out, walikuwa na pikipiki. Haya, akada askari wamewaambia wa surrender, wakiwa wanatoka kwa nyumba, they rushed back. 5 of them wanakaa nyumba moja. Katika hiyo nyumba hawana kitanda, wanalala chini wote.
Members of the public say that the 5 men have been living in the area for a while now, as intelligence reports also indicate that the gang had established the place as their operation center. One of the officers was injured during the shootout that lasted about 10 minutes.
Wamehangaisha sana Mombasa County. Kila kijao utasikia wamenyang'anya, wamepika moto risasi.
According to police, the 5 suspects have been identified as Benedicto Mugure alias General, Michael Kimani Njoroge alias One Man Army, Newton Kibara aka Kaparo, Bakari Hassan alias Beka, and Salim Degwa aka Kidevu. Police recovered an AK-47 rifle and 32 rounds of ammunition, among other assorted weapons. The intelligence report also reveals that the gang has been allegedly operating the River Trinity Miracle Church. Their leaders have been identified as Pastor John Kamau and Lawrence Kamau. The duo were missing during the dawn ambush and a manhunt is underway.
It is through the PR and community policing that has helped us to get full information in regard to this incident.
Police also say that members of the gang are responsible for the attack that happened in October 2020 when they shot and killed a woman operating an M-Pesa shop along Moi Avenue in Mombasa and made away with an unknown amount of money. The gang has also reportedly committed a series of other crimes in Likoni, Kisauni and even Nyali, targeting businesses and persons carrying huge amounts of cash. Kevin Mutai, NTV in Mombasa.
Women are being asked to formally register their business and companies to access endless opportunities the government offers through affirmative action funds. Women in Business CEO Mary Muthoni says women control about 88% of informal businesses and are therefore key economic drivers.
For the better part of Friday morning, women in business from different parts of the country were holed up in a meeting at a Nairobi hotel, getting a timely lesson on how to enhance their businesses, led by the Women in Business organization. The training coming on the backdrop of the coronavirus pandemic, which has come with a multitude of economic pains. Here, women were taught on the importance of investing in themselves for the future in the wake of the uncertainty brought about by the coronavirus pandemic.
Our businesses are hurting, and going by this year's UN theme, women in leadership, and of course achieving greater heights through leadership, we want to lead from the front, from the business front, from the women leaders front.
The organization says most women are cagey about registering their business, which often blocks most from accessing credit.
88% of the informal economy is run by the women. And that sounds really critical, because when you are in the informal economy, it means you're not in the statistics of those who are really running business.
There is a fund that designates about 30% of government contracts for women and youth. But according to the Women in Business CEO Mary Muthoni, the uptake has been slow and something needs to change.
Most women tend to fear. They think there's a lot of bureaucracy, and also capital could be a problem. Another great issue could be collateral, because most of the time you find that somebody wants to put up a business, they don't have security, and this is what actually we are trying to work on.
The CPF has also partnered with the Women in Business to offer tailor-made products targeting women brave enough to venture into business that will not only see them save for the future, but also access medical services against the ravaging coronavirus pandemic.
A ladybug is a pension solution which will cushion the women in business during the time of retirement from active businesses. We also have a product which is a benevolent fund which cushions the women during the time of hard hit, like now currently we have the pandemic on COVID. All the women are really down.
Today marks the 67th anniversary of the Lari massacre, an incident during the Mau Mau uprising in which Kikuyu tribesmen were murdered. Memories of the dark incident which shook the nation and the world are still fresh in the mind of those who lived to tell the tale. This Saturday and Sunday on NTV at 9 p.m, our reporter and senior cameraman Robert Gishia revisits the double massacre and how it informs present-day life in Lari. Here is a sneak preview into scars of Lari.
This is the Nairobi-Nakuru highway. Many pass along this road on a daily basis with little knowledge of what took place in Lari.
The meaning of war, you know better.
I was told you will not see so-and-so. He was hanged yesterday. We really got frightened.
They removed the whole African family from Tigoni.
Our contemporary youth
do not have any reference to the past. These are the songs that we were singing when we were fighting the British government.
Those people who really did the best part, most of them are not there. We only saw something that we call Nagikoyo Mavibishi.
So the hashtag tonight and tomorrow night on NTV Weekend Edition is Cars of Larry. Definitely one to keep an eye out for. National boxing team, sports news now I should say, national boxing team hit squad finished third in Zone 3 Boxing Championship, which was held in Kinshasa. Hosts DRC took the first position ahead of second placed Mozambique. Hit squad won a total of 13 medals, including 1 gold, 5 silver and 7 bronze. Eli Ajowi won the only gold for Kenya in the super heavyweight bout. Nick Okoth won silver in the featherweight bout final as David Karanja settled for silver in men's flyweight final. Christine Ongare won silver in the women's flyweight final bout. Stacey Ayoma won bronze in lightweight fight, and Elizabeth Akinyi won bronze in welterweight bout as Elizabeth and Diego settled for bronze in the middleweight fight. And on that note, I punch out of NTV at 1. Stay tuned. There is lots coming up that you will enjoy.